Jay Rosen is a journalism professor who once praised me as the most innovative journalist in the street. Well, that was a long time ago. I used to do a lot more field reporting. Now I do a lot more desk reporting. It's kind of a normal track that journalists tend to do. Many of the journalists you may be familiar with used to actually do field reporting and then eventually just became anchors and pundits. And now I think, my big focus is on building a company. I have other journalists who go out in the field and they do their thing totally independent from me. But Jay Rosen is a journalism professor who tweeted this. He says, "This is a remarkable interview with Chuck Todd. He admits several times he has been naive about the Republicans' commitment to disinformation." That's right. Jay Rosen, journalism professor, is somewhat blaming Republicans for disinformation, but that is also disinformation. And this to me is one of the most offensive things. I will tell you this. When a white nationalist goes on YouTube and calls me, ugly or, race mixer or whatever stupid insult they might want to think of, I laugh. I don't care. I think a lot of insults can be clever and funny, and I just laugh about it because, sticks and stones, right? But you know what really triggers me and offends me? The people who are supposed to be the authorities on journalism who lie. Because I'll tell you this. This story about Chuck Todd is a direct reference to Ted Cruz accurately saying that Ukraine meddled in the 2016 U.S. election. Does that mean that the top-down government had this big plan to hack servers? No, it doesn't. It meant that some people who were officials in Ukraine were meddling. And we know it's true because it's been reported by like 30 different mainstream news outlets. The only alternative that we can believe is the news outlets were all lying to us. I guess that's fair to believe too. So I can only assume Jay Rosen's literally read the articles from, say, Politico, from The Hill, from the DC Examiner, from the New York Times, from the Washington Post. The list goes on. They all exist. They all talk about this problem that happened with Chalupa and embassy officials. It happened. Yet, so why would he push this out and claim Republicans are pushing out disinformation? Because either he's a complete moron or he's a liar. Yeah, which is it? I'm going to go ahead and say I think Jay Rosen is a liar. And that's coming from someone who actually praised in the past. We have this story from Rolling Stone. How disinformation spreads according to Chuck Todd. Are you joking? Of all of the people you're going to interview, you get Chuck Todd on here? Hey, I'll tell you what, Rolling Stone. You guys have Matt Taibbi on staff. I believe he's on staff, whatever. He writes for you guys. So I'll give you some respect because Taibbi is awesome. But I don't know what the hell this garbage is. Great, now I'm swearing on Christmas of all days. YouTube's going to demonetize me of all days. Chuck Todd has a front row seat for the spread of disinformation. Here's how he sees it happening, and the media's rolling it. Are they saying that he has a front row seat, like on the stage, espousing the fake news? Because he does, because he's also on MSNBC, who for years pushed trash information and spread nonsensical conspiracy theories that even the left criticized because Rachel Maddow lost her mind. Rachel Maddow, who also was on the verge of tears when the Mueller report came out proving that Donald Trump did not collude with Russia. Thanks MSNBC for your years of insanity and bringing on someone who actually said Donald Trump may have been a Russian asset since 1984. How nuts. Let's read. Chuck Todd has had a front row seat for the spread of disinformation while hosting NBC's Meet the Press. I'm assuming they say that. I'm going to go ahead and interpret that to mean a front row seat as the person doing it, but anyway. Whether it was Kellyanne Conway using the phrase alternative facts to dispute media reports about the crowd size at Trump's inauguration, Senator John Kennedy blatantly using a Russian talking points to blame Ukraine for interfering in the 2016 election, or Ted Cruz spreading Russian conspiracy theories, full stop. Full stop. Those last 2 points were literally the same thing, and they're lies. Rolling Stone is lying right now. You know what, man? If there was anything in this world that made me want to go punch bricks and bash my monitor and flip the table up and just start howling and stomping around, it's this. I don't get offended or angry by very much, but blatant lies from despicable, detestable, twisted individuals. They're like information demons spewing vomit into the ears of the unsuspecting. That's what they're doing. First of all, look at how they framed this. John Kennedy blatantly using Russian talking points to blame Ukraine for interfering in the 2016 election, and Ted Cruz spreading Russian conspiracy theories. The conspiracy theory they literally refer to later in the article is the Ukraine meddling in the election. It's the exact same thing that they just said. They're framing it in a way to make it seem like they're two different things because they're deceitful. Because these people are twisted individuals and they know what they're doing. Man, if there was anything that would ever drive me to violence, it's those who would try to manipulate through deception, through this kind of deception. Fortunately, I'm a bit of a pacifist when it comes to this kind of stuff, so no, I deplore violence. I think the best way to actually confront it is through a video like this. The challenge is, how do we shatter that echo chamber, that bubble? I don't know. The reality is, people who hate Trump will believe whatever they hear, so long as it's bad about the president. There are many people who are willing to hear things that contradict their point of view, and it's probably why you watch videos like mine. But admittedly, you must acknowledge to a certain degree, you're still getting confirmation bias from me. I know it. I just talk about what I feel like, but I have a certain point of view. And that point of view fits a worldview of people who don't trust the media. So it's very hard to find people who do trust the media, who are going to watch this video and then find reason to not trust them. I'll tell you this, though. If you're less trusting of media in general, you're probably better off. Don't quote me, I'll quote Thomas Jefferson. But anyway, let me tell you something, just to get it out of the air. There are several stories. The New York Times wrote a story saying Ukrainian court rules that there was meddling in the 2016 election from Ukrainian officials. The New York Times wrote that, man. Do you want me to say, okay, I won't believe the New York Times? What happened when Politico wrote it? Okay, I'll choose not to believe Politico and the New York Times. The Hill wrote it too. I'll choose not to believe them. The Examiner, I won't believe all 4 of them. Washington Post, the Financial Times. I refuse to believe all 6 separate sources who independently verified the same story. It's absolutely insane. And Ted Cruz's position was basically like, I don't think there was a top-down effort from Ukraine to do this. I just think there were some individuals who did. And Chuck Todd's response was to laugh. And the people on the show laughed. And now they're going to ask him, this guy who's either too dumb to read the news or who's lying, they're asking him to be an authority. Let's read more. I spoke with Todd about the erosion of truth ahead of an upcoming, you know what, man? It's really hard to read because it makes me so angry. This is what these people do. They say, I oppose racism, and then they're actually racist. They say, I oppose fascism, and then they want corporate and governmental control and authoritarian systems to restrict free expression, free speech, and general civil rights in the United States. They say that they're anti-racist, but they tend to be white, wealthy, educated elites. They tend to, and then they insult and berate people, for people of color for disagreeing with them. They claim to support the truth when they are the purveyors of lies, and they do it to make it harder for you to crack through to the people they are tricking, the people they are manipulating. I was at the airport about a week ago, and there was a guy who said something that was just so blatantly false about, it was about the protests in the Northwest. And when I told him, actually, no, that's not true, it was this, he got angry. Of course he did. But I trust Chuck Todd. He tells me the truth, what to believe. Yep, and then Rolling Stone props him up. So you know what? Hey, Matt Taibbi, can you please go and sort this out? We don't need to act like Ukraine is this evil villain bigger than Russia trying to destroy the democracy of America. But when Ted Cruz accurately points out there's been copious amounts of news reporting that, yes, there were some government officials in Ukraine who did directly interfere, it really happened. Chuck Todd should not be laughing at it. Nor should he be getting a Rolling Stone story. I'd love for Matt Taibbi to go there and be like, hey guys, this is wrong. Can you please correct it? Put a big update. It turns out Ukraine officials did actually do this, and we're nuts. So they go on to talk about this, the biggest problem in 2020. But he goes on to talk about Ted Cruz, and here we go. Let me read this. He asks, in your recent interview with Senator John Kennedy, he used Russian talking points to defend Trump. Somehow he gets that disinformation from Russia. Why do you think Republicans are willing to come on your show and run that exact line? From Russia. They're making that up. They live in this paranoid, delusional state. Rolling Stone, what is wrong with you? The Russia collusion thing is nonsense. It broke apart. It's not real. We know that Russia was interfering. We know there was hacking. We know that stuff. But literally not everything is a Russian talking point. The New York Times is not pushing Russian talking points. Well, Chuck Todd, being the purveyor of lies, says, the fact is, and by the way, this isn't going to be easy to show, but I actually think when we outline this, it will. The right has an incentive structure to utter the misinformation. Look, I'll just be honest. When I had the third senator to spread Russian disinformation, Senator Ted Cruz, come on my show and do this, who I did not expect to do this, I started to think he wants the confrontation. He wants to use this for some sort of appeasement of the right. You know what, man? That's as far as I need to go. Let me tell you something. They get mad at conservatives because they don't trust the New York Times. And then when the conservatives do trust the New York Times, they accuse them of being conspiracy theorists. Let me tell you what the United States currently is. Let me tell you about the state of journalism. The state of journalism right now is a journalism professor lying to your face. It is a major magazine lying to your face, propping up a guy who pushes fake information to claim he's the one telling you the truth. If you watch my videos, you will notice a few things. 99% of every article I read is certified by a third-party fact-checking organization, NewsGuard. I have openly criticized them. I have openly countered some of their, hypocrisy. I still think they're typically pretty good, and I recommend them. I do this because the point is, don't take my word for it. I have standards. I don't think I'm always right, and I try to only use sources that are certified by a third-party organization that I personally think is biased in favor of the left. As a conservative, you may say, that's not fair, Tim, you're biased in favor of the left. Yeah, well, heavens, aren't I? But I actually try and break down the fake news. So if you see the New York Times, Politico, The Hill, The Examiner, The Washington Post, etc., all saying there is evidence of some form of Ukrainian meddling, well, I think it's fair to say that it's true, at least beyond a reasonable doubt if all of these sources which are certified are going to say it. What do we do then when Jay Rosen, a professor of journalism, spits in your face with deception and lies? But people believe it. I don't know what to tell you, man. Journalism is dead, and it's only going to get worse. Because I don't think I have all the answers. I think I have my bias. I try my best. I'll tell you this, I think I'm better than a lot of these people, especially people like Rosen, who's going to prop up this ridiculous trash. But even I'm not perfect. It's going to come down to you. You got to fact check everybody, including me. I'll leave it there. Merry Christmas. I hope you had a fun hour and a half podcast every day at 6:30 p.m. I will see you all at tomorrow. I will see all of you at 10 a.m. tomorrow, because there ain't no rest for the wicked. Thanks for hanging out.